Hello Turcaholics and welcome back to Football a la Turca Season 2 Episode 13 covering Matchday 13 in the Turkish Super League. But on top of that, of course, we have the UEFA Euro 2020 draw in which Turkey, of course, took part, and will also be covering the matches midweek in the Champions League and in the Europa League briefly before we head over to the Turkish League matches. I'm joined this week by the man of the law, Buak Yilmaz, Özer, Dindjer, and Burak.
You called Burak Yilmaz on the brain.
Sorry, let me.
Doesn't understand the offside law. That's for sure.
Let me just rephrase there. I am joined by, of course, man of the law, Burak, Sezgin, Özer, Dindjer, and Yakup Marufolo. And my name is, of course, Kaan, Bayazit, and we'll be discussing Turkish football for the next hour and a half or so. Guys, welcome to the show. Burak, welcome back in Europe. You're back from the United States. Özer, you're still in the United States. Burak, how was your trip?
It was lovely. It was really hot in San Francisco, unexpected for this time of year. So obviously I went over there with a coat and lots of jumpers and needed just a t-shirt for most of the days I was there.
Chicago.
Well, you know, I'm sure Özer is probably in like 10 layers right now in Chicago.
I can imagine.
Even in the office I am, yeah.
Yeah, but I've heard there's snow in San Francisco this week, so obviously we were lucky to get the good weather.
Sure.
Managed to catch some of the Fener game last weekend in my hotel room, so that was obviously not very good, much like this week. But had a good time, just about over the jet lag because it's behind by 8 hours. So I'm sure Özer is going to have a fun time. Getting back to UK time when you get back from Chicago, having been there for a year pretty much when you decide to come back or are sent back.
Yeah.
And of course, a big week for you as well, Burak. You've got your dance competition coming up on Wednesday. People can still go and pledge their support to that. Maybe quickly plug it.
Absolutely. So for those of you who've seen Strictly Come Dancing or Dancing with the Stars or similar versions wherever you may live, we're doing it for charity based on the sector I work in, which is technology. We're raising money for a company called Sports Trader. And what they do is they get children from underprivileged and damaged backgrounds into sport, provide them with coaching and equipment, such as anything from boxing to rugby to tennis to athletics to wheelchair-based sports such as basketball and football as well. I'm dancing a tango, which is quite apt for myself, being quite passionate about Turkish football. There are no references in the dance itself. We'll put out a link from I'm sure on the Twitter and Facebook page, so you can read about the cause, read a little bit about the charity. And if you're feeling generous, you know, sling me a donation of a couple of pounds, euros, dollars, etc. And event is actually going to be. Indeed, any donation for any amount is very welcome indeed. And the event is actually going to be streamed live on Facebook, so we'll make sure you have a link for you to tune in on Wednesday. It will be around about 7 p.m. GMT. But if you don't fancy watching live, then we'll pop up a clip of my specific dance.
There is no Champions League this week, I believe, so there's no excuse not to watch you live, Burak.
There's probably lots of excuses not to watch me dancing live, but if you do want to, we'll make sure you get the details. But we'll pop it up on our social channels after the event as well, so you can see how I performed.
Well, good luck, Burak, and let's head over to the UEFA Euro 2020 draw, in which Turkey were drawn in Group A, and they have a heavy hitter with them there. Italy, one of the former world champions and European champions, of course, a very tough nut for Turkey, but not just Italy, also Switzerland and Wales, so definitely not the toughest group. If you look at other groups where I believe France, Germany and Portugal got put in the same group, it's certainly not the toughest group, but Switzerland are an incredibly tough team to break down with a lot of quality players that play in the Bundesliga. Wales, of course, maybe not as good as they were a couple of years ago, but still have some amazing players, like, of course, the most famous one, Gareth Bale, but Aaron Ramsey, Chelsea, and a couple of others. So Wales should not be underestimated either. It's going to be a tough group. Turkey could end, I think, first in this group, or they could end bottom in this group. It's one of those tough ones. Quickly, your thoughts on the groups, guys. Özer, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, sure. I think I'm actually pretty pleased with this group. The first game of the whole tournament is going to be Italy-Turkey in Rome. So it's going to be a great introduction to the competition. If Turkey are able to pull off a shock, it will really set the standard for the team going forward. It's not impossible. Italy won every single match in qualifying, so they're on really good form. But even if that game ends in a loss for Turkey, I do think that the Turkish squad has enough quality, enough talent to beat Switzerland and to beat Wales as well. So I'm confident that Turkey will get out of the group. It's more who we end up playing in the Group B, if we finish second, for instance, which could be Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the kind of, even if looking ahead, even with the squad that we have, if we have an unlucky set of fixtures through the luck of the draw, then that's the only thing that I have a concern about. Otherwise, I do think we have a very talented squad.
Definitely. Yakup, your thoughts quickly?
Difficult group, but we do have a talented squad, as Özer just told. You can always trust on the Turks to make the competition, fun and exciting. So I don't know. I believe in the guys. We have a young group that is really good. I just hope that the strikers are, healthy when we're actually playing there, because
and Cengiz.
The most we're lacking is in the striker department. If that's okay, then I think we're going to have a really, really nice competition.
And Burak, finally, your expectations?
I think it's all set up for MD Demiral to score against Italy in the opening game and give a Oscar Selama to stick it to all those Italian journalists who dared to criticise him, and for us to then go on and win the group. I think I'd like to echo the guys before me to say we need like a performing striker. So whether that's Cenk, who gets into the starting 11 at Everton, or goes somewhere to get first in football, a healthy Cengiz in there, like you said, and hopefully a fully functioning defensive line with no injuries, because it's important to go into these tournaments without any injuries, of course, to key performing players, and that's a bit of a worry with Cengiz. I'm not sure who we play after Italy, whether it's Switzerland or Wales. To be honest, I can't remember those fixtures, but we have beaten Switzerland previously, Euro 2008, as you may remember, that famous. In Switzerland as well. So, yeah, that was amazing. So hopefully we can repeat that in Baku, which will be like home games for us Turks, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And then Wales, I think once you've nullified the threat of Gareth Bale, which can be done with MD Demiral crunch and challenge and a knee to the face.
Exactly. Just
like he took out Giroud.
Or maybe we should sacrifice France. Someone else so we don't miss Miri in the rest of the tournament. Maybe Hakan Çalhanoğlu can bite the bullet.
He could do, yeah. Maybe kung fu kick the Bale, but
just run up from midfield,
take him down. But I have a funny feeling Bale might be injured going into the tournament, so
put it past him.
Exactly, but I think on paper it's tournament football is never easy, but I think it's a draw that Turkey can be happy with and confident that they should be able to qualify out of the group.
The advantage, of course, of tournament football is that there's no reward for parking the bus and, like you would maybe in qualifiers where a team like Wales might think, a point here would be good for us. But, they're going to have to play to beat Turkey. They're going to have to play to beat Switzerland. They're going to have, everyone's going to have to play to beat each other if they want to get out of groups like this. And, it's hopefully going to get us a little bit more space for guys like Cengiz, for guys like if Burak is assuming he will be the number one striker along with Cenk. Hopefully we can pull something off and end first so we can avoid Belgium if possible, at least for that next round. And let's see where it takes us. But knock on wood, of course.
Yeah, and tickets are available on Wednesday, and I think we have until the 18th of December to apply. So we'll tweet out a link on how to apply for tickets. I think if you want to apply for tickets to Turkey's games, you have to have a TC kimlik number. So
or a passport, I believe.
Or a passport. That's how it was when I applied for my tickets to the Euro 2016. So you can apply for all three or individual games. So who knows? We might meet some of our fellow listeners next summer in Rome or Baku.
Any of you planning to book your tickets?
I'm definitely applying for 4 tickets for Rome and discussing with my friends whether we want to apply for tickets in Baku. Because we thought we could fly to Istanbul and then, get an internal flight from Istanbul to Baku, stay there for the 2 games that are, I think, a few days apart, and then come back to Istanbul and fly home. So that is a kind of travel plan we're thinking of, but definitely applying for the tickets in Rome for the opener.
Okay,
let's not forget too that the Champions League final is in Istanbul next May. So there's going to be
all right.
The world's press will be gravitating towards Turkey in one way or another next summer.
Good point.
Let's have it.
Anyone else planning on going? Yakup, Özer?
I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
Let's move over to the European football midweek. Let's start off with the Champions League. Galatasaray played their last hand, pretty much. They still have a minor chance of going through. If they didn't win this match, they would still have a minor chance of going through, I should say. But they had to beat Club Brugge if they wanted a good chance to go through. And it looked like they were going to do so after Adem Buak had put Galatasaray ahead in the 11th minute. But in the second half stoppage time, Club Brugge equalized via Diatta to pull things level for Brugge, which puts them now on 3 points and Galatasaray on 2 points. With the final match day, Galatasaray traveling to Paris to play Paris Saint-Germain. So Galatasaray will have to win in Paris if they want to go through, regardless of what Brugge does. And if Brugge gets a win, of course, against Real Madrid on the final match day, then yeah. But that's also not that easy, of course. Quick thoughts on this match, Özer?
Beijing bomb. I just don't know what to say anymore. This whole season has been so emotionally draining and just downright disappointing, especially in Europe. We had such high hopes of at least making a dent in PSG and Real Madrid at home. That didn't happen, so we downgraded our expectations to 3rd place. We had a decent result in the first match against Brugge, and then everything down to this point. And it started so well. That's the thing. It started so well. We finally scored. Finally, we were able to shake off their bad luck of not being able to score. Adem Buak's beautiful, sublime pivot on the spot, like a ballerina in the penalty box, just shot it home, and the whole stadium erupted. And it was the 11th minute. I think he said it was the 11th minute goal. So it was the early start and the early promise that we needed to really keep going. But we just couldn't find the second goal, and there were actually few chances really that we created to find that second goal. And it's the inability to kill the game off, which has been our problem in the league as well this season, but particularly in this game. We just couldn't kill the game off. Then over to Terim to continue with his nonsensical substitutions, brought on S2E13 for some reason. And then the whole central midfield of Jimbom just completely collapsed. It had already been weakening in the second half, but then totally collapsed. We had the ineffective handbrake Selçuk, who didn't really add anything to the midfield, so it felt like we were kind of caving back in. Terim couldn't spot that this was going to happen, and then Bruges really upped the ante. It looked more and more likely that they were going to score. Muslera made some heroic saves, but in the 92nd minute, the unthinkable happened, and it's very difficult to find anything positive to say about our campaign after that goal was conceded.
Minor deflection too, I think. It took to beat Muslera.
Exactly. All the great defensive work that the team had done, it was just all undone by kind of a collective series of small errors that led to that goal. And it's heartbreaking really, because I do feel as though if we'd been able to finish third, win that game, it would have given us a small boost to take back to the league. It would have given us a reasonable chance of having something to look forward to in terms of European football next season. It would have boosted us in the transfer market in January. And although technically it's not impossible that we can finish third. I think it would take something extraordinary beyond footballing rationale to go to Paris and beat PSG, even if it's their C team. So unfortunately, don't really have any positive things to say about Jimon's performance that day, or this season, in fact.
Galatasaray still have a minor chance of going through to the Europa League, of course. A team that does not have any more chances to continue past January in Europe are Beşiktaş, but they were still winless in their group and they wanted to rectify that, although it looked for quite some time like that wasn't going to happen, as Slovan Bratislava took the lead at Vodafone Park in the 35th minute through Daniel. A bit of a defensive mix-up at the back for Beşiktaş, a little bit of miscommunication I felt between Rocco and Reboccio, perhaps, although Beşiktaş had been dominating but couldn't find the goal. Until the 75th minute, Enzo Rocco managed to equalize on George Kevin Nkudu's assist, who had come on as a sub. And then in the second minute of stoppage time, Adem Ljajic converted a penalty to get Beşiktaş their first win of the European season, 2-1 at home to beat Slovan Bratislava. A deserved win if you look at especially the final 15 or so minutes where Beşiktaş just bombarded Bratislava's penalty area and had quite a few really good opportunities to score. And they get off the mark here in the group. They now have 3 points, 1 point less than Slovan Bratislava, who are on 4 points. And of course, Wolverhampton and Braga are already through to the next round, to the round of 32 in the Europa League. Maybe that means on the final match day, Wolverhampton will field a B or a C team, and Beşiktaş can hopefully get a couple of more coefficient points for Turkey. But it wasn't much more than a match for the honor here, really, for Beşiktaş. Moving on to another team that's also eliminated from Europe, Trabzonspor lose at home to Getafe 1-0. Mata scoring the only goal of the match in the 50th minute. Any thoughts on this, Yakup?
To be honest, not really. I don't even remember the game, to be honest. It started at like 5 o'clock, and I watched like the last like 15-20 minutes. I actually remember more of the Beşiktaş game than I do of the Trabzonspor game, because he fielded Karaman fielded a lot of young players, just to be injury free for the big game against Galatasaray in the weekend. So I didn't have a lot of hope anyway, and I'm there's nothing good to say, to be honest.
Yeah. I was very critical of Başakşehir the past couple of years for fielding their B or C team in the Europa League, but I can't really criticize Trabzonspor for doing this, really. They were already eliminated. They have been for a while, really, because ever since that late equalizer against Basel, it was pretty much over for them. And they don't have the biggest squad of players, so they have to pick their battles. They focus on the league. Makes sense for me for them to do so against the Getafe here. Unfortunately for the coefficient points, but Trabzonspor have to think of themselves first, of course, here. Then the other team that are not yet eliminated and still have a chance to go through was Başakşehir here, but they lost at home in front of a near full stadium, believe it or not, but they lost 3-0 to AS Roma. Goals here coming in the 30th minute through Veretout, the 40th minute through Justin Kluivert, son of, and then Edin Dzeko just before halftime in the 45th minute, making it 3-0. I thought Başakşehir started well and were a little hard done, I think, by the first goal. Kind of looked... it was a penalty, I believe, and that looked very harsh. But all in all, Başakşehir lose with a pretty big margin here. They remain on 7 points. I believe they still have a slim chance if they beat Mönchengladbach on the final match day, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, That's correct. That's not an impossible task, by the way. I mean, Mönchengladbach were able to beat Roma on match day 4 thanks to a 96-minute winner and also an own goal. So, it's possible. It's possible. It's more likely than most people would give them credit for, I think.
Yeah,
so let's hold out hope.
But Mönchengladbach, not to be underestimated, of course, they are at near the top of the Bundesliga. or even at the top, I believe. So they are a really good side, of course. They had a slip up against Wolfsburger, but definitely not a team to be underestimated. But let's move over to the Super League and almost close this chapter on an abysmal European campaign for all Turkish teams, pretty much, except for maybe Başakşehir. But let's move over to the Super League. On Friday, we had a goal duello, like they like to say in Turkey, between Gençlerbirliği and Malatyaspor. This match ended 3-3. Goals here coming through Tievi Bifuma in the 44th minute to put Malatyaspor 1-0 up, but Giovanni Siu made it 1-1 in the 52nd minute from the edge of the area. Bogdan Stanku then put Gençlerbirliği 2-1 up from the penalty spot in the 76th minute. But a brace from Robin Yalcin from outside the box, two very similar goals in the 85th and 88th minute, put Malatyaspor ahead and equalized and put them ahead 2-3. But then in the first minute of stoppage time, young Rahmetullah Berijbek of Gençlerbirliği equalized and made it 3-3. Did anything occur in this match that really sparked your interest, Burak? Maybe the penalty? What did you think of that? Any other controversial decisions that you think should draw our attention, or anything else left to highlight?
Not really. I mean, you got two, like you said, two carbon copy Robin Yalcin goals. He tried that just before as well. So you kind of think, well, maybe the Gençler defense should have picked up on the fact that they're playing the ball out to Robin Yalcin at the edge of the box, so he can try and just drill it down into the ground. But two very well taken goals that you couldn't really do much about because they were hit with power and kind of directed towards the corners. I mean, the penalty that Gençler got, it's one of those, again, with this new law in that kind of grey area. I mean, the guy takes the shot and the Malatyaspor player turns his back there. Their number 8, whose name I can't remember at the moment, he turns his back, but as he's turning his back, his arm is kind of just above the hip height. It's not really in a, well, we say natural position, but we could argue natural position, for a while. I mean, if you're jumping up and turning around, you could argue that that's a natural position for him to be turning around in, because he's got his elbow up and it hits his hand. The position is played on and it's brought back for a VAR check and given a penalty. Now, if we're looking at the EFAB rulebook and we're looking at the law, because I'm a man of the law, the new rule states that, yep, that's a penalty, and I believe the number 8 is then cautioned for it as well. But then a little bit later on in the game, you have almost a similar situation for Malatya, where they have a penalty given as well. But also, I'm just watching it right now, actually, just so I'm absolutely sure. Now, the goal. Well, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but the goalkeepers, both of the goalkeepers' feet, they seem to be, at least one of them seems to be on the line when the penalty is taken. So let's just, get that out of the way first. But the position I want to talk about is the similar one that Malatya felt that they should have had a penalty for. So this goal goes in, I think it makes this kind of like 2-2, and then you have a potential penalty shout for Malatyaspor, but it's not as blatant as the one that the Gençler were given, but it still kind of grazes the Gençler player's hand. So I'm thinking, well, where do you draw a line? What is a natural position? What isn't a natural position? I think it. I'm looking at it now, but even if when you're looking at it in slow motion, you've got the ball comes in to the left side of the penalty box to the Malatya player. He takes it on his left foot and he's kind of trying to just pass it towards the middle of the penalty box. And you've got this Gençlerbirliği player just running in, so he's not like jumped and turned his back to the ball. So he's kind of almost like stationary in one position. He's running towards the ball, and as the Malatya player plays the ball, it grazes his elbow, and it takes a little bit of a deflection, the ball's trajectory changes. Now, I don't think you can call that as a penalty because of the fact that the player's moving one direction and the ball just grazes his arm. But for the penalty that was awarded to Gençler, it was a shot on target, and you could argue that the hand took the ball a little bit away. But even though the goalkeeper saved it all, the shot was off target. It's more blatant and in keeping with the rules. So I don't think there can be any argument with the fact that Malatya didn't receive a penalty for that, but Gençler did receive a penalty. And then apart from that, it was just a match full of goals. Really, I don't think there's anything else really controversial for us to talk about. Both teams attacked each other. You can argue that maybe Malatya were a little bit unlucky not to come away with the win, just because they played more attractive football and they had more shots on target. But Gençler kept plucking away as you need to do, and in the end they battled through. And I forgot the name of the player who scored the winning goal. Oh, he had an amazing name. There we go, Rahmetullah, the equaliser. And he just muscled through 2 or 3 Malatya defenders. Seemed to want it a little bit more. And I think he'd only come on a couple of minutes ago as well, so he seems really up for it.
20-year-old kid.
Yeah, he just 20 years old. They're like, go on, son, make a name for yourself, do something. He just got the ball, ran past a number of defenders, and a really good finish, to be fair. And looking at I think Malatya could feel that they are a little bit hard done by not to ride out and get the 3 points. But I don't begrudge Gençler coming away with the point, just because they had the ambition and the courage to attack up until the last minute and keep playing the ball forward. So. An entertaining opener to the game week 13, shall we say? As
the Malatyaspor matches tend to be. So for those betting men and women among you, I think 2.5 plus is a pretty safe bet when you're looking at Malatyaspor matches. But let's move over to. Oh, go ahead, Burak.
Last thing, another good performance by Gökhan and an assist. So the rehabilitation seems to be continuing, but let's keep an eye on that ginger man.
I thought he was a little flaky against Fenerbahce, honestly. Did you like him against Fener?
No.
Well, he's had a couple of really good performances this season, but he's also had a lot of lackluster ones. So we'll have to wait and see. But of course, with the ability that he has, he's a fantastic player if he plays to his potential. But let's move over to Saturday now with the league leaders Sivasspor hosting Kasımpaşa. A simple 2-0 victory, really, you would say, for Sivasspor after an 11th-minute goal through Hakan Arslan and a 17th-minute goal through Mustafa Yatabare. But Özer, was it really that simple for Sivas to secure the 3 points?
No, I don't think it was. And the 2-0 is somewhat flattering because... they did give away quite a few chances. But when you're in such good form as they are, that's 5 games in a row with a win for them now. Things just start to go away. And if you roll back to the start of the season, then when they kicked off against Beşiktaş and won 3-0, then they went on to beat Trabzon 2-1. They beat Başakşehir. They drew with Başakşehir. They drew with Alanya. So they've got good results with the big teams and the teams who are on form. So, and we talked about it last week as well. They've got a decent core of players, particularly good core of Turkish players, and they deserve to be at the top of the league. The second goal, will it last? Well, that's the thing. And I'm wondering. I was thinking about this when looking at the highlights. Is Sivasspor going to be the new Malatyaspor? As in, are they going to be just having a good, strong start to the season and then finally fall not enough to fall out of the European zone and manage to skim around 4th or 5th? I think possibly they could sneak a European spot next season. The second goal was beautiful as well. It was Emre Kılınç, I think, who gave that killer crossfield pass. And then it was Goriyama, was it? Who was the guy who gave the assist to Yatabare? But anyway, it was a brilliant, awesome team goal. And one of the other memories I had from this game was just the fact that Quaresma for Kasımpaşa just looked very frustrated, kicking the ball out to the stands occasionally, looking really angry and moody.
Had a little small elbow.
He did, yeah. He was fouled. He wasn't treated very well by the Sivas players, and I think that kind of didn't work well with him either. He's not having the best time at Kasımpaşa, and nobody really is at Kasımpaşa, given that they've only won a few games this season. But yeah, I think Sivas were troubled, but deserved to win overall.
I think Kasımpaşa is having one of those, calm seasons, really. Not too much.
Calm.
Yeah.
Nothing really to write home about.
No, but not bad either, I would say. I think I've seen some attacking football-wise. I think they play some decent games, but we'll have to see. Next week they play their match of the season, of course, against Beşiktaş at home, and they always give it 101% in that fixture. So we'll see what are the odds like for Quaresma to score and Kasımpaşa to win. I would love to see that. But yeah, next week, interesting match there. Let's move over to the next match, Rizespor Konyaspor. This match ended 3-1 for Rizespor. Goals here coming through Olcan Çağlayan in the 3rd minute, Umar Amino in the 10th minute, then immediately a response from Konyaspor in the 11th minute to make it 2-1 through Deni Milosevic, and then Jan Sase made it 3-1 in the 74th minute. Easy win for Rizespor, Yakup, and they continue their up and down season, really.
Yeah, as we've talked about in the last couple of shows, they're really surprising me at the moment. They have been keeping it up. Normally, if I look at the last games they played, they won this game, they lost the last one, and won. They're doing pretty good. Oh no, I'm looking at the right games. So they're pretty surprising for me, because every year as Trabzonspor fans, we kind of have like a rivalry with them. It's more like they have a rivalry with us, and it's the same jokes are being made every year.
That's like Bursaspor and Beşiktaş.
Yeah, with the same jokes are made there with Çaykur Rize just dropping down, coming up, dropping down, coming up. It doesn't look like they will drop down this year, but the league is pretty tight between if you win one game, you sometimes move up 4 positions. If you lose one game, you sometimes move down 4 positions. So who knows? As for the game itself, Rizespor is playing pretty nice, in my opinion. They're playing pretty nice to look football. The first goal was a little bit lucky for them, but all in all, in football you do need to have some luck. I didn't think that Konya was bad, but even though Rize wasn't really clinical in front of goal, I think they were more lucky, if that's a nice thing to say, because if you just look at the game, if you even look at the highlights, it looks like Rize could have easily scored 5 or 6. If their strikers were a little bit more smart, or just a little bit positioning when kicking the ball. So it's weird to see, even though the score is pretty big, 3 goals for them and 1 goal for Konyaspor, it could have ended a lot different, with a lot more goals. As for Konyaspor, it's always nice to see Aykut lose, because
I agree.
For 2 reasons. Because one of the reasons is I don't really like the way he lets his teams play football, and the other more obvious reason is because he's a Fener guy, and that's self-explanatory. But
1996, baby.
But it's weird to see a team like Aykut Kocaman concede that many goals and lose. And I just noticed that Burak has his webcam on. I only just noticed that, so I see him waving his arms. I
don't think he's waving his arms. He's doing something different, but.
No, you turned it off now. But I was a little surprised. Konyaspor are not the most attractive team to watch, but they're usually a stubborn team and definitely a team that'll put their heads in front of it. And then for them to go 2-0 down after just 10 minutes, it was a little surprising for me. But really, if you give the match away in just the first 10 minutes, and you just know that even if you pull one back straight away, it's probably not going to go your way. That's like one of those unwritten rules in football.
I mean, it was a do or die. Yeah, it's probably too early to say it's a do or die game, but they're both trying to get out of the relegation zone. Konyaspor is like 14th at the moment with the end of this score, and Rize is 11th. But as I said, the league is so tight. When you look at the point differences, they were both like Konya was on 13 points, I think, and Rize was on 14. So it really is like a really do or die game. Because just a slip can put you right in the relegation zone. Because even having like 12 points is you being in the relegation zone. So I think the bottom half of the league table is going to have some intense matches, especially in the second half of the league. And even though as I said, I don't think that Konya played a bad game, but let's say it might be because of Rize playing at home that they were a little bit more in advantage, because they had a lot of positions, but they were just when they had to score, they scored, and it was a nice game for the neutral. Let me say it like that.
Yeah. Let's move over to the next match. Alanyaspor, the team that surprised many for the opening, say, 10 weeks or 10 matches of the season. Won again for the first time in a while. I feel like it's been a while. And they were up against Ankaragücü. They trashed Ankaragücü 5-0. I don't really think there's that much to say here. Anastasios Bakasetas with a brace in the 16th and in the 85th minute. So he scored the 1-0 and the 3-0. His goal sandwiching Jalma Kalpos's first goal in the 24th minute to make it 2-0, and then Jalma completed his hat-trick by scoring 2 more goals in added time in the 3rd minute and the 5th minute of stoppage time. 5-0 win for Alanyaspor. Özer, anything to add really? Or Alanya back?
Alanya, they're back to winning ways, in emphatic style. There's not much too much to say about the fixture apart from Alanya having a lot of fun, and it's fun to watch them as a result. They make scoring goals look easy, and I guess against Ankaragücü, they didn't really struggle too much. They've conceded, I think, 10 goals in the last 3 games, only scoring 1. They lost the last 4. I think they're also out of the Turkish Cup against losing to some 3rd or 4th league minnows. So things aren't going well for Ankaragücü, and I worry for them. They're in the relegation zone. But from Alanya's perspective, everything is looking good and the sun is shining.
Yeah, for sure. Next week, they, of course, travel to the Turk Telekom Arena to take on Galatasaray. They will be doing so without Papi Cisse. He was on the bench for this match, took a yellow card, misses the next match. But Umut told me that it might have been on purpose. He was probably injured or something anyway, and he probably took that yellow on purpose just to get that card suspension off of his record. So no Papi Cisse next week, but he probably wouldn't have been there anyway due to injury. So Alanyaspor will have to continue. Maybe they can put Jalma up top, and because he scored a hat-trick here. So next week, big game for both Galatasaray and Alanyaspor, of course. Let's move over then to probably the most talked about match of the weekend, Göztepe Fenerbahce. This match ending 2-2. Goals here coming from Andre Castro in the 7th minute to make it 1-0 for Göztepe. Then Serdar Aziz equalized in the 44th minute to pull things level for Fenerbahce just before halftime. Alparslan Öztürk then converted a spot kick in the 63rd minute, but plenty to talk about there. To make it 2-1, and Gary Rodriguez almost instantly responded or retorted in just 5 minutes afterwards in the 68th minute of a Vedat Muric assist, who was supposed to be out for 5 weeks. Ridvan Dilmen, what happened there? At 2-2, and that was the final goal, or at least the goal that would be allowed, because there was still a disallowed goal for offside in stoppage time. There was also a disallowed goal in the first half before the equalizer from Serdar Gürler, and then of course the stoppage time goal from Deniz Kada also for offside, and then there was one more very noteworthy thing. Red card for Luis Gustavo, his first in Turkey. He got 2 yellow cards in the 57th and the first minute of second half stoppage time, so he got sent off. Burak, gonna throw to you. Let's start with the Serdar Aziz high boot. Should he have at least had a card? Umut felt it might have been a red. I thought it was okay at the yellow, but he didn't even get booked. Then let's talk a little bit about what your all-around thoughts were of the first half performance, second half performance, the penalty, the retake, all of that. Get it out of your system.
Well, I think Serdar Aziz should have definitely been booked for that. It was dangerous play, constitutes dangerous play, but the eye was on the ball all the way. Intention wants to play the ball. The Ghost of a player just got his head in, and maybe a little bit quicker. So it wasn't full contact with the face, but under the rules, which are part of the law, and I'm a man of the law. Serdar Aziz should have been booked, and then it would have been a lot harder for him to play the rest of the game with a yellow card.
Mm-hmm. But a yellow at most, right? I mean, a red card. When Umut said that he said something along the lines of the guy that should have gotten sent off scored, but I really didn't think that was a red card offense.
You've definitely seen players sent off for that kind of thing, though, in recent times. I mean, it was an uncontrolled movement of the foot in a dangerous position.
I don't know if it's uncontrolled.
It wasn't
it's completely off balance, falling backwards.
It's not like the Lewandama axe
wouldn't have
kick.
been unjustified. No, it's not. But it's still in the red card territory.
Maybe it's because he did it to Cameron Jerome. He was deemed worthy of not being booked at all.
I mean, I remember a red card that Ryan Babel got when he was playing for us against Cherbourg, I think. And those are those types of cards that you're like, yeah, you can give a red, but it's... I think if a red here would have been really harsh. I mean, of course, yeah, you could see it, but I think reds... We discuss potential red cards every week, and we see stuff happen that's so blatant sometimes, where you're like, how did that not get a red card? And then if something like this would get a red card, I'm like, yeah, how is that? I mean, so many worse things, and
yeah,
that shouldn't be an excuse. But I think a yellow would be fine.
Wrong. Yeah, puts it under the spotlight a little bit more.
Puts it under the spotlight, definitely. And also, I mean, I think he would have, like Burak says, it would have made his match a lot more difficult. He does take a yellow card later in the match, and yeah. Anyway, the big controversy, of course, from this match. Not talking about the Sela goal was offside. That was clear. The line was shown. It was very close, but it was offside. Also,
correct.
The Dennis Kada goal. I think that was close too, but I think that was offside too, right? I mean, that was called offside, but he was offside, right? But
yeah, he was offside when the free kick was taken, so correct call again.
Okay. But the big talking point, not so much because of this week, I think, but mainly because of last week. The penalty. First and foremost, the referee had to go to VAR for Luis Gustavo's fall. I think he got his first yellow card there in the 57th minute. Took a while for the decision and all that. No, actually, it took a little bit of a while, but anyway. Penalty taken, then Alparslan Öztürk steps up. Saved by Altay. Altay throws it straight away, I think. Max Kruse plays in Gary Rodriguez, and he lifts it over the goalkeeper. 1-2. Fenerbahce, of course, in utter ecstasy. And then there goes the whistle. No, wait. I've got something in my ear here. Referee goes to VAR, checks the penalty, sees Altay, I think it was almost 2 meters off his line before the ball was even struck. Penalty order to be retaken, not 1-2, but 2-1. Of course, Fenerbahce's players feel, how would you feel? Whether it's right or wrong, I think we can all agree this was definitely the right decision, but for the players on the pitch, that doesn't feel like that. It feels like injustice. And I think that also that kind of lit a fire under them. That's why that equalizer came so quickly. But the big talking point here after the match, I think, was where Fenerbahce players, Altay also, like, look at our last week, we had a similar position, Emre's penalty, Farnell was off his line too quickly, and blah, blah, blah. So that's the big thing here. And I think, Burak, you're going to have a little bit of a plea for consistency right now.
Oh, that's all we want. I mean, it was a correct decision to give the penalty because Gustavo clearly steps on his foot, and that is a penalty under the law because I'm a man of the law. God, I've said that a lot this episode, but it's true. So no objection to the referee going to VAR to check that, given the penalty, and then up steps, was it Alparslan? Öztürk?
Yeah, twice.
So. Yep, up he steps, and obviously we're watching the game real time. So, and all we see is a save being made, the ball being thrown out, and us scoring straight from the ball into play from Altay. So, complete ecstasy. And then, so I'm watching it at home. I'm like, what's happening in the group? Going AMK, AMK, goal, goal, goal, goal, goal. And
I was a little bit behind. I'm like, is he celebrating? Gustave's goal, because on my screen he was still stepping up. I'm like, what's wrong here? Why is he going crazy?
So everyone's on delays, no one knows what's happening, and then it gets pulled back for VAR, and you can see that before Alparslan strikes the ball, Altay is a good 3-4 yards off his line. He flies off well before the ball is struck, and under the rules, that's whether it's I think either a miss or a goal, that's a retake, and the goalkeeper should be cautioned.
Well, if I'm honest, if I think if it's as extreme as this, and the player misses because he got put off by the goalkeeper, then a retake is understandable. But I think if the goalkeeper is a little bit off his line, like last week, for example, and then the player misses, and then I would take a retake would be really unjustified. Kind of like when players run into the box too quickly but have absolutely no involvement with a penalty being saved or something. You know what I mean?
Well, this is the thing. If I stab with a 2-inch knife instead of a 5-inch knife,
my vital organs will probably not get
should the punishment be less because I've used a shorter knife? I know it's an extreme example. Or if I shoot you dead with 2 shots instead of 1 shot, should I get a lesser punishment because I've shot you with 1 shot? It's the law is there. It's clearly stated to say if the outcome of a penalty kick is no goal and there's an offence by the goalkeeper, then the penalty is retaken and there's a caution for the goalkeeper. So whether Farnell is 1 or 2 yards off his line before Emre strikes it,
but he saves it, so that's different in my opinion. I think if Emre would put that wide, Farnell is not, his infraction isn't gross enough to justify a retake if Emre were to put it wide. I'm not saying that this should not have been retaken. Absolutely should get retaken. It's nowhere near as gross as the or blatant rather than Altay's storming off his line, but both are off their line too quickly. Both save the penalty, so both penalties should be retaken.
Yeah, and both goalkeepers should be cautioned because that is what EFAB state. Now I can't remember if Altay was cautioned or not. I don't think he was, but he should have got a yellow card, and obviously I have no issue with the penalty being retaken because it was against the rules. But the penalty last week was against the rules, and it shouldn't matter if it's by not as blatant, because then you're saying, well, actually, your version of being off your line isn't, as bad as Altay being off his line. But then we were discussing it, and you said, well, actually, if you want to put everything on such a microscope, it's going to make football really unwatchable. I think
you have to draw the line somewhere. I think Farnell is kind of on that edge. I think if you disallow that, have to order a retake there, that's still acceptable. But I think you're eventually gonna get examples of a goalkeeper being 1 or 2 inches, and then you're really, that's going too far. I think.
But
you still have to give the goalkeeper a fair chance to react as well, and I think there needs to be a little bit of leeway. But if you're like Farnell, I think he was 30-40 centimeters off his line by the time the ball is struck. That's probably a little bit too much leeway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you've got a freeze frame of just as Emre's foot is coming back. So just before he hits the ball, you can see both his feet are off the line, and that is against the law.
But then again, that's also why the law states you have to have one foot on the line to give that goalkeeper the chance to react. So, yeah, it's...
Exactly, and his foot wasn't on the line.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. You're right.
Exactly, but if we look at the game overall, I mean, we started okay. We should have been in front. Max Kruse obviously has done something to his hair. Yet the header, he should have put that away. Whether it's a bit of he's lacking match form or the peroxide has kind of burnt his scalp,
so he can't naturally blonde.
Yeah, he just went like uber blonde a little bit. So he just took it to like the next level, Kunka. The opening goal from Andre Castro, it was, I don't know if the highlights show this, but leading up to the position, it is Altay's failure again to catch the ball that leads to it going to a throw-in, and the throw-in coming in from Göztepe, and Castro just hitting one of those, what I say, scuffed, but Altay scrambles. I'm not sure if it's because he saw it late, and that's why he didn't actually dive, but it just kind of snuck in, hit the post and went in, and then we had a bit of a bitty first half, really, until we got the Serdar Aziz goal just before half time, and that kind of lifted our spirits. And then
definitely against a run of play at that point.
Yeah, Göztepe were playing much better than we were, and then you had the penalty incident where we had the retake, our disallowed goal, Alparslan scoring, but then 5 minutes later we get the equaliser. Some people thought that Vedat was offside when he got the ball and headed it down for Gary.
It took a while for them to...
4 minutes and bloody hell, guys.
They had time to Photoshop that.
They had time to make a cup of tea.
It really shouldn't take that long.
Yeah, so that was clearly Vedat was onside when he headed the ball down, and Gary was behind the ball when he received it from Vedat. And then story of our season, Ozan hits the post with a headed chance late on in the game. The guy we're crying out for...
Outside of the post, I think, so...
Yeah, again, it's another attempt off the woodwork that could have made it 3-2. We seem to I think the players have a competition in the dressing room who can hit the woodwork the most. And we, I think we are the team with the most shots against the woodwork. If someone could find a stat on that would be great. And then the guy we've been screaming out for us, Fener fans, Ferdi, comes on, but he comes on, 82nd minute in a really high tempo game. He comes on for Dennis Tillett, who's done fuck all game as well.
Had a really good chance in the first half, I think. Goes around the keeper, puts it wide.
Yeah, should have done better. And if you want to start in the first 11 each time, Dennis, that's the kind of chance you need to put away. And you need to be more involved. You need to dribble past more players. You need to get more crosses into the box. And I felt sorry for Ferdi because he's coming on in a really highly charged game where the players are quite pent up. Frustrations running high, and he didn't have a chance really to put his stamp on. He's not had much first team football for Fenerbahce. He's played for the Dutch under-21s, so he has played competitive football. But you can't recreate the atmosphere of being 2-2 in Göztepe, having had the penalty incident, which is probably still running through the players' minds, even though it was the correct decision for the ref to give, and he just didn't get his mark on the game, unfortunately. And then you've got the Luis Gustavo second yellow card, which I thought was quite harsh, but I can understand why the ref gave it, because you can clearly see he slides in, gets the ball first. You can see the ball's trajectory change, goes in a different direction. But I think it's the follow through where he takes the player's legs, and the player goes down, as they do they've been hit by a sniper sort of thing, and eventually his time was going to come. He got the red card, and then in the all of the added time, it was all Göztepe. They just were peppering us completely. I can't remember us coming out of our own half for much. And
no, it was really Göztepe who wanted to win more, I felt like.
Yeah, and then it's the Dennis Kada header. I was watching it, and the goal goes in, and my head just drops, thinking, "Here we go again." Mm-hmm. But then, you can see it was called back for being offside, which then as well. So it's a huge let off for us. And I don't know. It's you've had 2 away games in a row.
Tough schedule.
Yep.
2 away games in a unfortunate period where you lose your main goal threat in Vedat. He did come back here as a sub and he immediately impacted. But 100% Vedat in these games would have made a difference, no doubt.
Yeah, he would have caused a nuisance, held the ball up, used his muscle to make it difficult for Göztepe and their defenders, and brought other people into the game. But I think that with the wingers we have, even though Gary scored today,
I thought he was really good actually in this match,
and I just
especially
think
second half.
Yeah, so he stepped up, but I'd like to see him be more consistent. Now I'm not sure if he plays better when certain players are on the team, because he can pick up the tempo more and not have to go backwards or sideways. I think Vedat helps with the fact that he can grab the ball, hold it up, and then play it onto him. But I was disappointed with Dennis today. I think Hasan Ali got injured in the warm-up, unfortunately, so we had to change our midfield. So we had to shuffle Ozan to right back, Dindjer
to left.
Put to left back, and I think Serdar Aziz again proved why he's been such a good signing for us since last season, and if he can stay fit, I think he's forged a decent partnership with Zanka. But defense does still worry me, but I think as long as we can keep Serdar Aziz fit, who knows? There's talk of Jerome Boateng in the January transfer window, and I'm like, okay, don't really believe that. But if we can keep Serdar fit, I think we've got a good chance of challenging for the championship. But again, it's whether we can keep the Bionic Man fit, because he does get injured a lot and he's in the latter years of his career. And I just thought he had a good game, came up with a really important goal for us. Again, Max Kruse, I do love him, but I just think he needs to just get a goal, get off this voodoo, throw it off, and I think then we can see him performing a little bit more.
Well, we got the Beşiktaş derby coming up, so
because let's wait and see what happens. That's where he might decide to start scoring in that game. And what can I say? It's just another kind of disappointing performance for me. Attacking not as fast as I would like, but I think the main topic is, let's just see some consistency in the decisions. It's not that we feel hard done by in this game, because the decisions were correct. I would maybe
I think the
just
players definitely did, but of course, post-match emotions. So
post-match emotions, adrenaline, you end up saying really stupid things. The only thing I would contest is maybe the Luis Gustavo sending off for me, but I think
he's escaped a few times before, of course.
He has, so maybe it's the ghost of Christmas past catching up with him.
One more thing I'd like to add, though, I know I said it in the group too, but I really think that Altay probably is the most impressive shit goalkeeper I've ever seen. He is really good, and he made some really big saves again. And he does it every match. He makes really big one-on-one saves and stuff like that. But it's like every match he has to have some brain farts, like 1 or 2 every match, and he's escaped really big a couple of times already. I think he's escaped a red card twice, through 2 fortunate offsides in 2 different matches. He's escaped 2 penalties in a similar fashion already. He has a lot of raw talent. I said it before, but he's more Volkan Demirel than he is Muslera.
Volkan was a great goalkeeper.
He was, but he also was stupid.
I think he's catching worries me, and he does fumble a lot when it comes out. But hopefully, those are things that he can work on. Put on a little bit more muscle, get into the gym. Maybe follow the Gustavo workout routine, because even though he looks quite slender, he's impressively strong, old Luis Gustavo. So get Altay doing some back squats, maybe some deadlifts, and have him work on his traps as well, so he can just be a little bit more muscular and commanding in his penalty area. David De Gea, when he first moved to Manchester United, great talent, great potential, but he was getting outmuscled a lot in the Premiership. The defenders were being tough on him. So I think if Altay can get down the gym, work on his strength, that could potentially help with his catching, because he'll be a little bit more stronger and stable when he goes up. But, who knows?
Yeah.
But again, 2 points from 2 away games, not the best result, but let's keep the refereeing consistent. That's all we want. But we also need to start taking our chances a lot more. So I hope Vedat is back full time soon, and we can see him and Cruz start to pick up the pace with their goal scoring.
Well, hopefully for you, hopefully not for me, Yakup, and Özer. Let's move over to Sunday, and let's start off with the main event, because Özer will have to leave us soon. Let's start off with Trabzonspor Galatasaray. This match ending in a draw. Alexander Surlov had put Trabzonspor up in the 50th minute, and it looked like Trabzonspor were going to book another big victory at home. But in the 90th minute, Yuto Nagatomo decided otherwise. I believe that was his first ever goal for Galatasaray. Correct me if I'm wrong, Özer.
Second.
Second goal. Okay. Midweek, Galatasaray going from the hell to the heavens almost. Midweek, they lose they lose 2 points in the final minutes, and now in the league they win a point in the final minutes. And Yakup, for you, of course, this would have been a painful late equalizer. But Özer, let's get your thoughts on the match first, because you are a little pressed for time.
Yeah, well, no, you're right in the sense that comparing it with the Bruges game, because the similar time that we conceded the goal against Brugge is when we scored the goal against Trabzon. It's just that the Champions League match was a kind of a season-defining goal, whereas I don't think Nagatomo's equaliser can be said about the same thing. I mean, I'd like that to be the case.
Might be a turning point. I mean, losing this match would have been big for you.
I know, and to be honest, for a lot of the fallout in the press, and in fact, even going by what Terim said after the match, he alluded to the fact that the second half performance, and particularly the goal, would be the turning point for us. And I just don't see that. I'm not convinced by that line of thought, because we didn't play well enough again to have warranted winning this game, first of all. We just had a kind of maybe a half an hour, maybe 40-minute spell where we really control. I don't believe that we'll be able to carry this form into the games coming up. Also, because of the fact that we have so many injuries, it's kind of becoming unclear who's going to be playing and then who's going to be playing in which position these days. Defensively, we've lost Luyendama for the rest of the season, which is it's a sledgehammer blow for our defence. We've lost Falcao and Andone up front. Who knows when they'll be back? Midfield lacks dynamism even when it's fully fit. So for Turin to say that this is a turning point for our season, I'm struggling to see what he's basing that on. Had it not been for Nagatomo's 90th minute goal, there would be nothing for him to talk about. No positives to take away at all. And then I'm looking for inspiration. I'm looking for inspiration from guys on the bench as well. Someone like Emre Mor, who at the start of the season I was really hoping that he would get a lot more starting time. But he's just not using his time and his minutes wisely and effectively. He's becoming very wasteful. And a bit like what Burak said about Max Kruse, I think he just needs a goal. Maybe it's the goal that he's lacking that will bring him to life. He seems a bit under pressure to perform. He's taking on far too many risks, trying to take on far too many players and then losing possession. Maybe he's trying to prove too much about his abilities. If he just scored a goal, he'd maybe sit back and relax a little bit, contribute more to the midfield play. So I think until he gets that, he's going to continue being super wasteful. I thought Adem played his part well again against Trabzon. Actually, when Nagatomo scored the goal, you can see that he was kind of almost in an identical position on the pitch in front of the box that he was when he scored against Brugge. So I thought maybe he's likely going to strike twice, and then he kind of tips the ball back and Nagatomo slots it in. So I think it was an okay second half performance from Jimbom, but can't say too much more than that.
Yeah, I mean, given the limitations Galatasaray has, for sure. Trabzonspor, really good in the first half, I thought. Galatasaray had a couple of dangerous moments on the break, but Trabzonspor had the match under control. Didn't have a lot of really big opportunities, but had a couple of good attacks. And I really felt like up until they scored that they had the match well in their hands. It was inevitable that they were going to find that goal. And then Yakup, once they did find that goal, it kind of felt like they were like, okay, we got the goal, now we're going to invite the pressure, and we're going to try and hit them on the break. And it happened almost happened a couple of times.
I mean, I've said it a couple of times. I said it with the Rize game, that generally Trabzonspor, when they go down or when they go up, they seem to get complacent, you know? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I really liked about Ünal Karaman this year is that it seemed like team, even though we were playing a game that we were losing or winning, the team still tried their best, you know. But you could see you could see, as you said, after the goal, that it looked like team thought that they were like 3 or 4-0 up, and they were just like, you know, we got this, and let them come, you know. And you can see, I think that especially the midfield of Galatasaray just flipped the switch at the moment, and they just barraged us. They were going a lot to Ömer Bayram, and they kept trying, and I just sensed that it was coming. So I also told in the group chat that that Galatasaray was going to score, and it happened.
Yeah, and I said no, they missed their window.
Yeah,
I genuinely felt that way because they had a really good spell after the Trabzon goal, but they had faded at that point.
I mean, the reason why I think the goal happened was that Trabzonspor. Look, there are like two ways you can go. Either you go full on attack, you know, because you're up ahead, you're playing at home and before a crowd of 40,000 plus, and in a big game. So either you go ahead and keep attacking to, you know, make the score a little bit more for you, or you just, you know, what Trabzonspor did against Galatasaray last year. You just waste your time. You know, you keep possession of the ball. You walk slowly and methodical, you know, up the pitch. But they didn't do either of those. You know, and so they tried to go forward. The Galatasaray defense wasn't the best in the second half. Turlot got through a lot, missed a lot. I don't think that a lot of those missed positions were his fault, but more Muslera and a little bit of the defense. And Zonzi had like one sprint, I think. It was like 30 meters. I didn't even think he had the legs for it, to be honest.
I think Marcao was the one with the block right at the final moment when Turlot shot on that one chance and then after the goal. Okay. If that's the one you're referring to.
Yeah, I'm just confusing the two. But, you know, I think the score, I think the result of this game is pretty much all down to Ünal Karaman. I still think his substitutions are really wonky. I know that we don't really have a big midfield at the moment, or a big midfield because everyone is injured. But, you know, playing Hosseini at the midfield I don't get it. I remember him doing it a couple of weeks ago, and it turned out great. But if you have a defensive player playing against, you know, Lemina, Figuli, and Zonzi, it isn't his right position, you know. I thought, you know that Hosseini is one of my favorite players. He's in my eyes one of the best defenders in the league, and he should have played in defense. Even though Hussein played a good game, Campi was a little bit. It could have been a little bit better. You can see
it was decent.
Yeah, if you look at the stats, pretty much all stats, Galatasaray is leading. They lead in possession, pass success, dribbles, you know, corners, dispossessions, everything. And I think that happened a lot because, you know, Hosseini isn't a midfielder, so the midfielding passing lanes were just blocked. You know, you had Tosa going everywhere, Mikel going everywhere. Why not just play with Doğan Erdoğan?
Do we still have Özer on? Sorry to interrupt you, but Özer, are you still on?
I'm still here. And I'm actually thinking it's funny listening to the analysis from Yakup, because it reminds me of the kind of things that I was thinking after the Bruges Champions League game, going 1-0 up, and then kind of not reacting properly to taking the lead, and then making wrong substitutions and then giving the momentum away, etc., etc. It's kind of like a carbon copy of what happened to us.
Sorry to interrupt you, by the way, Yakup, but I did want to get to one more thing. There's one big talking point that we haven't spoken about, and that's the Ömer Bayram slap. That's Twitter has gone crazy about. All my friends, everyone I know, pretty much said, "How is that not a red card?" And I was looking at it live, and I looked at it again in a replay. And I'm like, that's not a red card. He's not really doing anything. I mean, it's not like he's hitting the guy or anything. So. But everyone seems to feel that should have been a red card. So I just want to throw it to both of you, your feelings on. And Burak, man of the law, will come in at the last minute, of course. But Özer, first, what did you think of the Ömer Bayram quote-unquote slap? Does it warrant a red card or was yellow justified?
Yeah, I think a slap, it's really hard to describe unless you've seen it from... many different angles.
I wouldn't call it a slap.
I would encourage everybody to actually watch it a few times from different angles beforehand. It's not quite a slap. It's kind of... So he brings his arm and his hand in the motion of a slap, but then
it's like go
stops
away
before he hits his face and then pushes the side of his cheek.
Yeah.
And then kind of follows through in a kind of gentle, kind of playground scrap kind of way, rather than a malicious smack. So
That's
a red card would have been harsh. And I think that you could see from the way that the two players kind of duelled against each other for the rest of the game that there was a certain degree of understanding between them. There were a few rough tackles here and there, but it never developed. It never spilled over into anything violent or malicious between either of them. So I think to have given a red card to Ömer after that would have been really harsh. But he at the same time, free to take things differently, and if he had been standing from the other side, a referee might have seen it as a hit or a smack rather than a gentle slap. So it's the kind of thing you just should do on a football pitch.
Yeah, Yakup, what did you think? Was it a gentle push or whatever, or was it a slap, or was it something in between, or what did you think?
Yeah, I think it was something in between. I agree with Özer. You know, it wasn't really a thing where you could have said like that was a malicious thing. It was just the heat of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I like Pereira. I know that Umut isn't the biggest fan of him, and I think that you know, the way Pereira plays and his demeanor on the field, I think that also, you know, influenced the referee a bit. You know. He is really theatrical and he does stuff like this a lot. So I think that even though it could be classified as a slap, I think that was if it was somebody else on our team, that the referee might have given a red, but he wasn't too sure. So he thought that, you know, just give him a yellow, and we'll be fine with it. It's a hard decision, you know. I know that like hits like this, or sometimes when two players get angry with each other and they are like head to head, and one of them like moves their head like 1 centimeter, the other one goes down, and the player gets a red.
Yes, I can think of a very specific situation immediately.
Which one?
Van Persie and Tosic.
Oh, yeah. You know, I hate positions like that, you know. And with if it was a really full out, you know, fight and he did this, I would say, okay, give him a red. But I don't think that was... I'm happy with the yellow. I would be more happy with the red, but I don't think that would be the right position.
You take the red, of course.
Yeah, of course.
The way I want to look at it, the way I look at these types of situations is, how would I feel if that was my player getting sent off for that exact same thing? And then I'm like, yeah, that would be effed up, because... In Dutch, we have a saying for what Pereira did there. That's matenaaierij, and to me, that's more of a problem in football than brushing someone a little bit. I don't think it was gentle necessarily, but it definitely wasn't malicious. There was no danger of hurting Pereira. Yeah. Anyway, man of the law, your verdict. Please.
My verdict is Ömer Bayram did not use excessive force or brutality. It was a very playful tap on the neck. Pereira went down like an absolute sack of shit, and I would be embarrassed looking at that. He should look at that today, tomorrow, and think, "My God, that was embarrassing what I did," because there was no force at all used by Ömer Bayram, and I think a yellow is correct because it's a hand to the face. I don't know what the actual criteria is, but for a sending off, it needs to be excessive force or brutality, and there was none of that at all there by Ömer Bayram. Commentators often say you can't raise your hand to the face. That's an immediate red card, but you can see there that
manner of which it's done.
Yeah, Pereira was just being a little bitch, and Ömer Bayram was like, get out of it, sunshine.
So I feel too. In my opinion, if a player gets caught of doing that, of feinting, going down to try and fuck over a rival player to get them sent off like that, to me that should be retroactively punished with 1 or 2 match suspension.
Says the guy with Burak on his team.
No, I mean it's the same. I mean it. If that happens, plus I can't remember Burak doing that in a Beşiktaş shirt, so I don't care really what you say. But it's the same thing with penalties, by the way. Of course, now there's VAR, but if a player would dive and after the match it's very clear and obvious that it's simulation and he did get the penalty. Of course, now in the VAR era that's all different, but I think those players should also be retroactively suspended. I think if you do that, you remove these types of vile things from football. Of course, there's still gonna be some idiots who try, but it'll be a lot less. And I really think that this should be one of those situations. I alluded to that position with Tosic and Van Persie earlier. I do think, however, if you're making if there's no contact, but you're making a headbutting motion, even if there's no contact, there's no excuse. You have to be sent off. But if there's no contact, the guy who goes down and acts like he's shot by a shotgun should also get punished. That's my opinion on this matter. Anyway, I don't think that will happen anytime soon. I don't think FIFA or UEFA care enough about it to do that. But I think we can all agree that a yellow here for Ömer sufficed, and maybe even that was a little bit much, because I even think it was he who got fault initially in the first place. Wasn't it?
Yeah. Let's agree to disagree. Let's put it like that.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt you before, Yakup. Any more thoughts on the match?
Yeah, like the standard things that probably everyone kind of agrees with. Unfortunate game for Sørloth. I really like him as a player, but to fault him for not scoring more, I think that's a little bit ridiculous. Some of the chances that Trabzonspor had, the one with Wakayeme, with an empty net and this and that.
Wakanda, as Umut calls him.
Those kind of positions, those are the ones that sting when you look back at this game. But the position with Sørloth, he did his best. He did pretty much everything right, and he just shot at a brick wall. So
the only one you can really fault him for, I think, is the one in the first half where I think it's Yusuf who crosses it in.
Yeah, he crosses the ball and he just misses it or doesn't want to extend.
He doesn't leave his feet. I think if he goes in there diving with his feet, then he always puts that away, and it's a 100% goal. But that would be a 1-0, and we see the reaction of Trabzonspor when they go up a goal. So I don't really think that would have changed the match if he would have put that one away. If you look... Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I do think that would change, because, that if the goal went in, there was in the first half, and, you could put... In the first half, you can always put pressure because everyone has fresh legs and
possibly. But you score really early in the second half, the 50th minute, and immediately the handbrake goes on. So I really think that's a tactical thing rather than not having fresh legs.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Could be wrong, of course, but I under Slaven Bilic, Beşiktaş did that a lot too. And I think it's just a little bit of a maybe not necessarily tactical, but something that isn't really... I think certain coaches, like a Fatih Terim, for example, for all his faults, he does very much instill, I think, in his players too. At least for after you score that first goal, to at least for the next 10 or 15 minutes, try and find that second goal. And I think that's something that Trabzon should have probably done here for at least 10 more minutes or so. They should have retained control and kept pressing for that second goal. And then, as the match goes on, it's normal that you invite a little bit more pressure, maybe try and hit them on the break a little bit. And it's normal that Galatasaray is going to try and take control of the match, but I think you can give them more of a fight the first 10 or 15 minutes after that goal. And if you demoralize them in that first couple of minutes, then it's also going to be harder for them to fight their way back in. But if you immediately put on the handbrake and invite in the pressure, then you're just going to, give them hope,
I mean, I just can't understand, there was like a stat of Karaman that he didn't lose like from the last 5 derby games, he only lost one of them. So
yeah, but those types of things can be really misleading.
I get that. But if in my opinion, the derby games that are played with Trabzonspor, doesn't matter if they are Trabzon or Istanbul, are the most fun because Karaman normally just lets the team play, and it just go. He doesn't settle. That's what I liked every time we had a derby game. But I don't know why this game. I don't know. It really seemed like that the title race is getting kind of a little bit on his nerves. He tried a couple of things, and it didn't work out. And maybe I remember that after the Europa League game that some of the fans were a little bit angry at him, but I don't think you can fault him for the Europa League campaign. He tried his best, and let me put it this way: I think we played more like we did in the Europa League than that we normally do in the Turkish league.
Yeah. Yeah,
if that makes any sense.
I think that. Yeah, no, that actually, it's funny because I thought that when I was watching. Yeah. Do you think it's getting to him already? It's a little early for that, I would say, especially also, I think, with the rivals dropping plenty of points. I don't really think that nerves should really be an issue already.
No, I don't think it's getting to him, but I think that right now with all the injuries and the returning guys, I think he's trying to implement some of the guys into the team, and I think that's having a little bit of a how do I say this? I think that doesn't really work in his favor. He put Ekuban in the game. I really love the guy, and you can kind of think that was like him going for more attacking play, but I don't think that was a smart decision.
Yeah, maybe he should have waited with that as his first match back.
And like the small tactical errors. It seems like I praise him for 2 or 3 weeks, and then he regresses for a game, and then he goes back to being good, and then I don't know why the consistency isn't good with him. I have been saying from like the start of the season that the biggest complaint I have of him is the way he subs players in. He either waits too long or just there's always something wrong, and I don't think I don't think you can be too harsh on him. The team is doing well with all the injuries, and with a couple players that we can get in the winter break, it will only get better. I don't know. I don't know if it was a little bit being scared of Galatasaray for whatever reason. I really can't just put it into words.
Okay, Özer, I think is he still with us? Or?
No, he's gone.
He's dropped off. Okay, so no final thoughts then there. Just quickly thinking if there's anything else left to talk about in this match. I don't really think so.
There was like the Emre Mor position where he thought it was a penalty.
Yeah.
Honestly, God, yeah.
It doesn't look like a penalty. I didn't think it looked like a penalty when I saw it live, and
never a penalty for me.
Yeah, in the replay, it also doesn't look like a penalty.
It's funny how after the match he's like, it's 100% penalty on me, but come on. Man of the law, please.
Absolutely not. He just needs to get the fuck up. He's been shit ever since he's signed, he's done nothing of any worth at all. And I continue to stand by my statement that he is going to be a pure waste by the end of the season. He's sold his soul to Instagram, probably TikTok now as well. And he just
Justin Bieber.
Even though, like, you know, the classic Turkish version of it's probably like, you know, Cemal Biber instead of Justin Bieber. I just think he's a lost cause, even though he's 23?
21, 22?
Yeah, he's a talent that we've lost.
22.
Yeah. Although,
Yeah.
I mean,
Never a penalty, by the way. Never a penalty.
Yeah, agree. But I think what Özer said earlier, maybe that applies here, that he's just putting a lot of pressure on himself and trying to get that. You know, I think winning a penalty for your team or scoring a goal, getting a crucial assist, it's all a little bit the same. Maybe Özer has a point. He needs to get that confidence boosting, whether it's a goal, assist, winning a penalty in an important match. That could maybe, I mean, you can see that there's something there, but the question is, what if he gets that whatever it is, that the goal or whatever, I could see it giving him a boost and it improving his performance. But I don't think he's the type of player that can consistently then build on that and keep that up. He just doesn't seem like that type to me. I just think he'll get distracted by one thing or another. You know,
Instagram.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't think he's a good player. You know, he's
skillful. He's quick. You know.
Yeah, he's like Yusuf
Sarı.
Sada, and I'm not the biggest fan of his.
He's like a good cross.
He's like a bad Yusuf Sada. You know, I think that he shouldn't have left Dortmund. You know, he should have kept playing there. But I think it wasn't really his decision if he leaves or not. I don't know. I think that he just got the money and he just bounced. You know, his head went crazy. The fame got to him, the money got to him, and he's just not a good player. It's a player that he's really one dimensional. You depend on him on his on his speed and on his dribbling.
Mm-hmm.
But when
he doesn't have a shot, he doesn't have an exceptional shot. He doesn't have an exceptional cross. He doesn't have that reading of the game. He cannot. I mean, that's the thing with, you know, he's a very flashy player because of his speed. Well, the speed is, I think, a little bit overrated too. Anyway, but he's fast and he's really skillful on the ball and agile. But I think a good winger needs to be either a serious goal threat or someone who can set someone else up for a goal. But he's neither of those, at least not at the moment, and I just don't see that. I don't see either of that in him, quite frankly.
Yeah, you know, I do wanted to say that him and Kruse seem to be, you know, the shiny-haired boys. So maybe learn a little bit more of him, you know.
With Kruse, at least, I mean,
Kruse, I'm not having that. I'm not having him. Yeah. But
I like Kruse. I think he's having a couple of bad games the last couple of games, but I think he's a good player.
Well, he's only just come back from injury, and I think actually, I mean, he did set up Gary for that goal that got eventually disallowed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Kruse is one of those players that even when he's maybe not having the luckiest of games, he can still set someone up for a 100% scoring chance, just like that. You know, and that's definitely not Emre Mor right now. Anyway, let's move over to the other matches on Sunday that we quickly skipped over to get to the main event there. Gaziantep, Denizlispor, ending 1-2 in favor of Denizlispor, and we said it last week, Rizespor and Denizlispor, both of those types of teams that go up and down, up and down, up and down, but they do get those crucial points in those up moments, and that's again the case here, as Denizlispor snatch, maybe steal a little bit, a win in Gaziantep. Gaziantep take the lead here in the 54th minute through Aramraju Kayode, you know, the man who loves to take those red cards. He puts Gaziantep 1-0 up in the 54th minute. I think he also had a goal disallowed in the first half. But then just 4 minutes later in the 58th minute, Hadi Sakho equalizes for Denizlispor kind of at that point a little bit against the run of play, and then close to the end in the 85th minute, Barrow just with a fantastic solo run on the left sets up Hadisako in the box, makes it 1-2, and Denizlispor snatch a win. Just before that, a little bit before that actually, Denizlispor even had a goal disallowed by Hugo Oradayega, set up really well by Olcay Shahan. I always like to give him a little bit of a tap of the hat, but that one got disallowed. I'm not quite sure why actually.
It was a handball. Handball by Olcan.
Yeah, I know it was a handball, but I didn't actually see it in the replay. I was like, I was kind of looking for it. Where did he actually touch it? But anyway, Denizlispor, did they steal it? You feel like, Yakup, looking at the 90 minutes?
Yeah, if you just look at the score, it doesn't reflect the game. I thought that Gaziantep really deserved this game, but I don't know. They were really like. I think they were a little bit unsure. They were a little bit mentally not prepared. Well, it looked like they had like it's what seems like 20 penalty shouts where they just hoped like just give me a penalty so we can finish this. But all the penalty shouts that they had, the ref correctly, told them that it wasn't a penalty.
Sometimes teams seem to feel like if we just shout frequently enough, eventually they'll point to the spot. That's how I kind of felt on Thursday, by the way, with the Besiktas Slovan Bratislava match, where I really felt that Besiktas was overdoing it a little bit with the penalty shouts, even though a couple of them maybe. I didn't really think any of them were like Stonewall.
I mean, I would get it if they weren't playing good. In my opinion, they played a really good game. They had like one goal that was disallowed because of shoving by the ref, which I didn't really agree with because it really looked like the Denizlispor defender. I don't know which one it was, to be honest, that he really went down really easily. So maybe that demoralized them a little bit, but they were playing at home. They aren't like the best team on the league table at the moment, but they played really great football. They are just mid-table, just outside of the relegation zone, and this was a big game for them because Denizlispor are pretty much their next rival. So. They played really well. I really liked them. But even though Denizli weren't really clinical, I thought that Denizli was really horrible, to be honest. They just scored when they had to score, and that pretty much separates the two.
Yeah, 3 very important points for a team like Denizlispor. But maybe Gaziantep can slowly join that group of Denizli and Rize of teams that are quite up and down this season. Gençlerbirliğ maybe too. I think Gençlerbirliğ have had a season of ups and downs. But I just right now, if I look at the table, if you'd ask me right now, I honestly think that the 3 worst teams in the league are at the bottom at the moment. But a lot can change in January. Of course.
I mean, I think that Antalya deservedly is on the bottom, like 16th. But Kayserispor, the same thing that Gaziantep today. They play some great matches, and then
early on in the season, yes, but I feel like they've really slipped the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I heard a lot about how Bülent is there, isn't he?
Bülent Uygun just got a point.
Yeah, that like for the last game he dropped like 7 players or something. So
made a 15-year-old kid the captain.
Yeah,
today.
Yeah, and Adebayor played his last game. I know that we're kind of skipping some games, but I just wanted to say before I forgot that.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit.
So all in all, Gaziantep really deserved this, but
maybe it's kind of the same as Trabzonspor. Maybe they stopped playing a little bit too much after they scored because Denizli responded pretty quickly, and I felt like at the end. Denizli looked like the more likely team to win it anyway, and maybe just Gaziantep stopped playing a little bit too quickly.
I think it was more like they couldn't really enjoy the goal for a long time, and that just instantly demoralized them,
Yeah.
But Unfortunate game for Gaziantep. I'm a little bit of a Denizlispor fan, so good to see them win.
Let's move over to Başakşehir Antalyaspor, the number 2 in the league table. Başakşehir take on the number 16 in the league table, Antalyaspor. This match ending in a pretty logical 2-0 win for Başakşehir. Goals here coming from Gael Clichy in the 60th minute and Daniel Aleksic in the 63rd minute. So rapid fire goals there around the hour mark. Antalyaspor got to halftime with a draw. Couldn't keep it. Gael Clichy's goal broke it open, and a very nice goal it was, Burak. But all in all, a not super flashy win for Başakşehir, just business as usual for them, kind of.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth with the term business as usual. I don't think Başakşehir were tested at all during this game. They created a lot of chances getting in behind the Denizli defence with like İrfan Can, Aleksic and Vizca are causing lots of problems. There's a few times that Aleksic had some really good shots on target. He's proving a very good player. I enjoy watching him play. Just it's a shame that he's playing for Başakşehir. But like you said, the goal, Gael Clichy, one of the almost, I want to say forgotten men, because he sits there at left back, does his job, but involved in both goals today. It just hit the ball clean as a whistle with his left foot, straight into the goal, and then I believe he ran straight to Marit for some reason. So maybe they've got like a little brotherly loving. But you could see on the replay as well, where you see the camera angle from behind, the way he strikes it with the outside of his left foot, it's just so clean. And they normally always go in, even though it goes through a bank of players. And after that, like you say, the second goal came quite quickly from a Gael Clichy assist. So I'd be surprised if he didn't pick up the man of the match for this game due to his involvement. But again, a lovely little assist from Mr. Clichy, and it falls to that man, Aleksic, who finishes really well. And just, like you say, Antalya didn't trouble Başakşehir at all. I don't think the defence were really that worried or breaking a sweat. And it just goes to show that, how shit they are. They'll probably get relegated if they keep playing like this. I mean, they got rid of Buak Yilmaz, whose greatest achievement was beating Fener at Kadıköy, where they just scored because of an individual Charleston error and then stuck 10 men behind the ball. They're just a very average team. Şeju has, failed to impress. The only good thing is that maybe this means Nazım Sangare will be available for transfer at the end of the season, because we could definitely do with a new right back with, Dindjer not getting much.
I think all of us could.
Yeah, well, you've still got Gökhan Gönül, who's decent when he's fit.
He's already getting up there in age. He's like 34 right now, going on 35. So
yeah, but yeah, Antalyaspor, they're going to struggle. They're not bottom, are they? I think that's reserved for someone else, but they might be rock bottom. I think it's Kayseri who are bottom, who are also another bunch of shit munchers, which we'll come into in a bit.
They did manage to shut down Enzo Crivelli pretty effectively, though.
Who, Antalya?
Yeah, they did actually manage to do that quite effectively. He didn't really get a lot of opportunities in this match.
No, but they've got abundance of talent, unfortunately, don't they? Başakşehir across that front five. İrfan Can, Elia, Vizca, Aleksic. So if Crivelli, and then they've got obviously the spider, Mehmet Topal sitting in front of that back four, who, like we say, weren't tested at all. So routine win for Başakşehir. They continue to play decent football and prove me wrong when I said that they would be nowhere near the top four this season.
Not just you. I think we all thought that, because, of course, Başakşehir had a terrible start of the season. And another team who had a terrible start of the season has also resurfaced, or rather has had a resurgence, as the final match on matchday 13 this evening actually finished on Monday as we are recording. Beşiktaş easily beat the number 18 in the league, Kayserispor, 4-1 at the Vodafone Park. Goals here coming from Atiba Hutchinson in the 20th minute, Gökhan Gönül in the 30th minute, and Buak Yilmaz in the 41st and 90th minute for Beşiktaş. And in between those Buak Yilmaz goals, Adebayor had scored a goal in the 86th minute, which, as we already have spoken about a little bit before, will be his last goal for Kayserispor, as this, he announced after the match, would be his last match for Kayserispor. He may still stay in Turkey. We'll have to wait and see what happens in January, but he did say that it could also possibly mean that he would be leaving the country. So I think Adebayor was a fun player, definitely contributed a little bit to Turkish football, had a very good first 6 months at Başakşehir, and then a good second or first full season, but the last year or so, year and a half or whatever, I think he physically has faded a little bit. He can still turn it up sometimes, like the Fener match. I think he was really good there physically. Just kind of looked like the old Adebayor, holding up the ball really well, and he had a decent game here too. But his team was just, too weak to really put up a fight. 5th win in 6 matches for Beşiktaş. They only failed to beat Ankaragücü in those 6 games, which I think is a painful thing, really. If you look at the teams they've beaten in the last 6 games, not to be able to beat Ankaragücü. But Buak Yilmaz, he is finally back, growing back to his best form of last season. 2 goals here, very involved, also assisted the first goal of Atiba. Main talking point in this match, I think, will be the Gökhan Gönül goal. Caner Erkin getting the assist there on a ball that almost looked like it crossed the back line, the touch line. In fact, if you look at it from a certain angle, it did cross the touch line, but of course we learned that we have to look from the top, and the ball has to completely go behind the line in order for it to be awarded a goal kick, and we did see in VAR that it was in fact not out entirely, so a correct call there to allow the goal. But that was, I think, the biggest talking point of this match, really. All in all, Beşiktaş played a very good first half, could have easily been 5-0 up at halftime. Second half they played with a handbrake all, I'd say, a little bit, but of course you're 3-0 up, so you're allowed to do that, not risking players for injuries. I was a little surprised to see Buak Yilmaz play 90 minutes. I don't know if either of you have anything to add to this match, gentlemen.
Just, Kayserispor, absolute shit show. There was no prim given to the players before this game. There was no visit from the mayor to G them up. There was no fans cheering like crazy for 90 minutes. There were no players playing out of their skin.
Well, they were away from home. So
well, it doesn't matter. There was no players running or making any effort. It just goes to show that when all of these aren't in place, they're a bunch of absolute cunts. And they're going to get relegated, and good riddance, and enjoy obscurity with no one showing up to your stadium. You may have beaten us this season, which was the only, thing of any interest you're going to do this season. Now you're going to fuck off back down to the lower leagues. So that's all I have to say about Kayserispor. Good riddance.
The man of the law holding grudges.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, Yakup, anything to add? What did you think of Beşiktaş? Were you impressed by Nkudu again, or anything to add?
I unfortunately wasn't able to watch the game, but the most things that I heard about, I watched the Caner position a couple of times. Mm-hmm. It does look like it went out, but as you said, when you look at it from a top-down view, it's just clear that it didn't really go out. Mm-hmm. I had one question though. Did VAR show that top-down view during the match, or
they did show a VAR? They did show a VAR image, but I was actually looking away at the time, so I honestly don't know if they show the top-down or just
because
something else.
I just can't understand why people made such a big deal of it if the VAR, the VAR camera showed the top-down view of it.
Because people see that's because the ball is round, obviously. They say the bottom part and that it's behind the line, so they're like, oh, it's over the line, but remember a couple of years ago, Fenerbahce scored a goal like that against Beşiktaş, and that was a big thing then too. And I think until this day, it wasn't really clear if it was over or not. But that was also one of those cases where the bottom of the ball is over the line, but if you look from top down, then you would see that the ball isn't entirely over the line. But I think that was pretty clear here too. But yeah, anyway, let's move on to the standings maybe quickly, and then Burak, would you mind pulling up the schedule for next week, and I'll quickly go over the standings here.
Sure thing, boss.
Okay, so in first place is, of course, still Sivasspor, who again won. They're on 27 points right now. Başakşehir are in second place with 25 points. Then we have Beşiktaş in third now with 24 points, and Trabzonspor in fourth with 23 points. And then in fifth place, Alanyaspor with 22 on level points with Fenerbahce, who are also on 22 points. And then there's a 2-point drop-off to both Malatyaspor and Galatasaray. And then there's a 3-point drop-off to Denizlispor, whose up-and-down season still has them in a very interesting position in the left column. And Göztepe is, of course, too. They're also on 17 points. And we also have Rizespor on 17 points. So it's kind of funny. Then Gaziantep have 16 points. Gençlerbirliği have 14 points. And then Konya have 13 points. And Kasımpaşa have 12 points. The same amount as Antalyaspor, but a better goal differential for Kasımpaşa right now. And then finally, in the bottom two spots, we have Ankaragücü on 9 points, and of course, Kayserispor on 7 points. Please give us the schedule for next week, Buak.
Yeah, it starts off on Friday with Fenerbahce at home to Gençlerbirliği. On Saturday, we have Malatyaspor versus Sivasspor, Ankaragücü versus Göztepe. The evening game is Galatasaray versus Alanyaspor, which should be an interesting, good affair. Sunday, we start with Konyaspor against Gaziantep. Denizlispor take on Başakşehir. Antalyaspor welcome Trabzonspor. And the evening game is Kasımpaşa taking on Beşiktaş. As you said, we will probably see Kasımpaşa play the best game of their season there. And it ends the following Monday with Kayserispor at home to Rizespor. So no doubt Rizespor will give them an absolute battering. We can only but hope. And that concludes the fixtures for next week. And then we have 3 more rounds of fixtures before we hit the winter break.
Yeah, and we also have Turkish Cup fixtures on Wednesday and Thursday. We're not going to go over those right now. Just go to www.tff.org and check out the Turkish Cup fixtures, and we'll briefly discuss them perhaps in next week's episode. We also have a big announcement coming up, probably next week, but that'll have to wait. It has to do with the hosting of the podcast, and we're joining a big new network, but that's not yet official. The papers have not yet been signed. I actually have been a little tardy on that. I have to sign a contract and send it in, but we will be joining a big podcasting network soon. What does that mean for you listeners? There will be some advertisements implemented in the episodes, but also more fun. We'll talk a little bit more about this next week, but there will be merchandising opportunities. So if you're a big fan of Football Turca, there will be opportunities to buy t-shirts and stuff like that, and I'm sure we'll come up with some really good man of the law designs or something like that. So if you're interested in that it's going to be a cool thing for the show, I think. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to this episode of Football Turca. I want to thank Özer, Dindjer, who, of course, left us a little bit early. Yakup Marafolo, thank you, of course. And as always, the man of the law, Buak Yilmaz. Thank you for... Burak, Sezgin, thank you.
What is wrong with you, man?
He scored twice today. He's on my mind. What do you want me to do?
Guy scores 1 goal and you can't keep your mind off him.
Hey, he's got 5 goals already, and he's missed half of the season. Huh? How much does that king in the north of yours have?
8.
Yeah, exactly. And he's played double the games. Ha! So obviously Buak Yilmaz is superior to the King of the North. Anyway, guys, thank you very much. It was a fun show, and we'll see you again. We'll talk again next week, Monday, of course. And you all will be listening again next week, Tuesday, I hope, first thing in the morning. Adios, amigos.
Thanks for listening, folks. We'll see you next week.